The fluorescent lights of Meyer's diner buzzed overhead, casting harsh white light on the plastic-covered menu in Brielle Thompson's trembling hands. She could feel her 6-year-old twins pressed against either side of her in the cracked vinyl booth, their small bodies radiating excitement she knew she was about to crush. Amara's fingers traced the pictures of pancakes and burgers while Jaden bounced slightly, already announcing he wanted chicken tenders. Brielle's wallet sat open on the table in front of her. 2 $20 bills and 2 singles stared back at her like an accusation. $42. That was everything until her paycheck arrived in 5 days. She'd already subtracted the bus fare she'd need to get to work, the small amount for milk and bread. If she bought 3 meals here, even the cheapest items, they'd go hungry before Friday. The calculations ran through her mind for the 3rd time, hoping the numbers would somehow change. They didn't. 1 child's meal, $7. 2 would be $14. At her own, cheapest option maybe $6. $20 plus tax and tip. That would work. But 3 full meals? Impossible. Mama, can I get the smiley face pancakes? Amara asked, pointing to the picture with syrup dripping down golden stacks. Brielle's throat tightened. She glanced around the diner, half full on this Christmas Eve evening. Other families laughed and ate together. A couple in the corner shared a milkshake. An elderly woman sat alone with pie and coffee, looking content. Everyone seemed to belong here except them. Let's see, baby, Brielle said softly, her voice barely steady. She'd made so many mistakes this year. The divorce from Todd had drained every resource she'd managed to save. He'd left her with debt she didn't know existed, disappeared without paying a single month of child support, and now she was here on Christmas Eve trying to figure out how to feed her children 1 meal. This morning the twins had been so good. They'd helped her clean their tiny apartment, singing Christmas songs even though they had no tree, no presents waiting. Amara had drawn pictures of Santa while Jaden built towers with old blocks. They deserved this dinner out. They deserved so much more. Mama? Jaden tugged her sleeve. Are you okay? I'm fine, sweetie. She forced a smile that felt like glass cutting her face. The waitress approached, an older woman with kind eyes and sensible shoes. Her name tag read Dorothy. She pulled out her order pad. What can I get you folks tonight? Brielle's mind raced. She could order for the twins and tell them she'd already eaten. They might believe it. Or she could order 1 meal and 3 plates, split it between them, make up some story about not being very hungry. The twins were smart though. They'd know. Mama's going to share with us, right? Amara suddenly said, looking up with those huge brown eyes that saw everything. Actually, Brielle started, but her voice cracked. Take your time, honey, Dorothy said gently. No rush. But there was a rush. There was always a rush. Rush to get to work on time, rush to pick up the kids from the neighbor who watched them, rush to make every dollar stretch impossible distances. Brielle felt the familiar burn behind her eyes that meant tears were coming. Not here. Not in front of the children. The chicken tenders are good, Dorothy offered, seeing her distress. Kid's meal comes with fries and a drink. Pretty filling. I want that, Jaden said immediately. Me too, Amara added. $14 plus tax. Brielle could do that. She'd eat when they got home. There was half a can of soup in the cabinet. That would work. 2 kids' chicken tender meals, Brielle said quietly. And for you? Dorothy asked. Just water, please. Dorothy's expression shifted slightly, understanding crossing her face. She'd probably seen this situation before. How many other mothers sat in this diner, counting dollars, making impossible choices? You sure, honey? Our soup's really good tonight. Just water, Brielle repeated, unable to meet the woman's eyes. After Dorothy walked away, Amara leaned against Brielle's arm. Aren't you hungry, Mama? I ate earlier, baby. I'm fine. The lie tasted bitter. She hadn't eaten since a small breakfast of oatmeal they'd shared that morning. Her stomach had been growling for hours, but she'd gotten good at ignoring it. Across the diner, a man sat alone in a booth. He was older, maybe in his 60s, with silver hair and a navy blue sweater that looked expensive. He'd been there when they arrived, just sitting with coffee, watching the door like he was waiting for someone who never came. Something about his posture reminded Brielle of her own loneliness. Even in a crowded diner, surrounded by holiday cheer, some people sat alone. The man's eyes met hers for a moment. She looked away quickly, embarrassed. Could he tell? Could everyone tell she was struggling? That she was 1 missed paycheck away from not making rent? That tonight she'd count out exact change for this meal like counting breaths? Mama, what's wrong? Jaden asked. At 6 years old, he was already learning to read her moods, to sense when things weren't right. Nothing, baby. Mama's just tired. Is it because Daddy didn't come for Christmas? The question landed like a punch. Todd hadn't called, hadn't sent anything for the twins. He'd simply vanished into his new life, leaving them behind like they'd never mattered. Daddy's busy, Brielle said, the lie coming easier this time. But we're going to have a good Christmas, just the three of us. We don't have a tree, Amara said matter-of-factly. We have each other. That's better than any tree. The twins seemed to accept this, turning their attention to the drawings on their paper placemats. Brielle watched them color, these two perfect humans who depended on her completely. She'd do anything for them. Anything. And lately, anything meant choosing which meals to skip, which bills to pay late, which dreams to abandon. She'd wanted to be a nurse. Before the twins, before Todd, before life got so heavy she could barely stand under the weight of it. She'd taken 2 semesters of prerequisites at community college, done well, imagined a future where she could actually provide stability. Then she'd gotten pregnant, married Todd, and watched that dream fade like morning mist. Now she worked as a nurse's aide at Green Valley Care Home, wiping bodies and changing sheets for $12 an hour. It was honest work and she was good at it, but it wasn't enough. It would never be enough. Dorothy returned with the kids' meals and Brielle's water. The chicken tenders looked golden and hot, the fries crispy. The twins dug in immediately and Brielle felt a small measure of relief. At least tonight they'd eat well. You sure I can't get you anything? Dorothy asked quietly. I'm sure. Thank you. Dorothy nodded and moved away, but Brielle caught her glancing back with concern. The man in the navy sweater was still watching. Not in a creepy way, but with an expression Brielle couldn't quite read. Sadness maybe. Or recognition. Like he saw something in their little family that resonated with him. Brielle sipped her water and tried not to think about how hungry she was. She focused instead on the twins, on their happiness as they ate, on the way Jaden carefully dipped each fry in ketchup while Amara nibbled her chicken tender in small bites. This was enough. This moment right here. It had to be. Mama, can we get dessert? Amara asked suddenly. Brielle's heart sank. Not tonight, baby. Please? It's Christmas Eve. I know, sweetie, but... How about we just finish our dinner first? Brielle said, redirecting. Then we'll see. She wouldn't be able to afford dessert. She'd have to disappoint them again. Add it to the growing list of things she couldn't provide, couldn't do, couldn't be. The man in the navy sweater stood up. For a moment, Brielle thought he was leaving, but instead he walked toward their booth. Her body tensed automatically. Strange men approaching while she was alone with her children always triggered alarm bells. But his face was kind, his hands visible and empty. He stopped a respectful distance from their table. Excuse me, he said gently. I'm sorry to interrupt your dinner. Brielle instinctively pulled the twins closer. Can I help you? The man smiled, and it reached his eyes in a way that seemed genuine. I couldn't help but overhear. I'm sitting here alone on Christmas Eve, and I was wondering if you'd allow me to buy your family's dinner tonight. Including dessert if the children would like. Have you ever been in a situation where pride told you to refuse help, but your children's needs demanded you accept it? What would you have done in Brielle's position? Please share your thoughts in the comments below, and if this story is touching your heart, subscribe to see how one moment of kindness can change everything. Brielle stared at the man, her mind struggling to process his words. Buy their dinner? A stranger wanted to pay for their meal? Every instinct screamed caution. Don't take things from people you don't know. There's always a catch. Nothing is free. But the twins were looking up at him with curious, open faces. And Brielle's pride, that last defense she'd been clinging to, suddenly felt like a luxury she couldn't afford. That's very kind, she started, but we couldn't. Please, the man interrupted gently. I know how it sounds, a stranger offering. But I'm alone today and it would mean a lot to me. My name is Warren Bradford. He offered his hand. Brielle hesitated, then shook it. His grip was firm but not aggressive. Brielle Thompson. These are my children, Amara and Jaden. Hello, Amara. Hello, Jaden. Warren nodded to each twin with genuine warmth. Hi, they chorused in unison. Brielle looked at her children, at their half-eaten meals, at the water glass she'd been nursing. She thought about the envelope in her purse with 2 20s and 2 1s. She thought about the next 5 days. She thought about pride versus practicality. Why? She asked directly. Warren's smile faded slightly, replaced by something more somber. Because 2 years ago, I sat in a different restaurant, alone on Christmas Eve for the first time in 40 years. My wife had passed that spring. A family invited me to join their table. I said no. I've regretted it ever since. The honesty in his voice struck something in Brielle's chest. She recognized that kind of loneliness. The kind that made you disappear even when you were sitting in a room full of people. "I'm sorry about your wife," Brielle said softly. "Thank you. Patricia would have liked you. She was always helping people, always seeing where she was needed." Warren's eyes misted slightly. "She was a nurse. Worked in pediatrics for 30 years. Amara tugged Brielle's sleeve. "Mama wants to be a nurse too. Is that right?" Warren asked, his interest seeming genuine. "I'm a nurse's aide right now," Brielle explained. "Maybe someday I'll finish school." Warren nodded thoughtfully. "That's good work you're doing. Important work." There was a pause, filled with the ambient noise of the diner. Clinking silverware, distant conversations, the hiss of the grill in the kitchen. "So may I?" Warren asked again. "Buy your dinner? It would honestly be the best part of my day." Brielle felt the last of her resistance crumble. Not because she was weak, but because accepting help when you truly need it is its own kind of strength. "Yes," she said quietly. "Thank you. We'd be very grateful." Warren's face lit up. "Wonderful. May I join you? Or if you'd prefer privacy?" "You can sit with us," Jaden said immediately, scooting over to make room. Warren slid into the booth next to Jaden, and suddenly their small table felt less heavy. Dorothy appeared almost immediately, as if she'd been watching. "Everything all right here?" she asked. "Very much so," Warren said. "Dorothy, could you please bring menus? We're going to order properly. And whatever these children want for dessert, they should have it." Dorothy's knowing smile suggested she'd seen what was happening. "Of course, Mr. Bradford. Right away." "You know her?" Brielle asked. "I eat here sometimes. When the house gets too quiet." Warren looked at the twins. "So, have you two been good this year?" "Very good," Amara said seriously. "Mama says Santa checks." "I'm sure he does. What are you hoping he brings?" The twins launched into an excited description of modest wishes. A doll for Amara, some action figures for Jaden. Nothing extravagant. They'd learned not to ask for much. Brielle felt her throat tighten again as she listened. They were such good kids. They deserved more than she could give them. Warren listened attentively, asking questions, genuinely engaged. When Dorothy returned with menus, he insisted Brielle order a real meal. "Get whatever you'd like," he said. "Please. You're doing me a favor by letting me share this evening." Brielle ordered a chicken sandwich and fries, something she'd been eyeing earlier but dismissed as too expensive. Warren ordered the meatloaf special. The twins, delighted by the turn of events, asked for extra fries. As they waited for the food, Warren asked about their lives. Not in a prying way, but with the comfortable curiosity of someone who genuinely wanted to know. Brielle found herself opening up in a way she hadn't in months. She told him about working at Green Valley, about how she loved the residents but the work was exhausting. About how the twins started first grade this year and were both reading above level. About how they lived in a small apartment but it was clean and safe, and that was what mattered. She didn't mention the divorce, the debt, the fear that kept her awake at night. But somehow she suspected Warren understood the parts she didn't say. "And you?" Brielle asked. "What do you do?" "I'm mostly retired now. I was in manufacturing, owned a company that made medical equipment. Sold it 5 years ago. Now I sit on a few boards, do some consulting, but mostly I try to figure out how to fill my days." "That must be nice," Brielle said, then immediately felt foolish. "I mean having time. Not the loneliness part." "I knew what you meant," Warren said kindly. "And yes, I have time. Too much of it sometimes." Their meals arrived and for a while they simply ate. The food was good, better than Brielle remembered. Or maybe it just tasted better because she wasn't eating it with a side of guilt and anxiety. Warren talked to the twins like they were people, not just cute accessories. He asked Jaden about soccer and Amara about her drawings. He told them stories about his wife, how she used to sneak cookies to her young patients, how she believed kindness was medicine too. Brielle watched the stranger connect with her children and felt something shift inside her. Not romantic interest, nothing like that, but a recognition of goodness in a world that often felt short on it. When dessert came, chocolate cake for the twins and apple pie for Warren and Brielle, Jaden leaned against Warren's arm comfortably. "You're nice," he said simply. "So are you," Warren replied, his voice thick with emotion. After they finished, Warren picked up the entire check without ceremony. He left a generous tip for Dorothy, who squeezed his shoulder as she took the payment. Outside the diner, the winter air was cold but not bitter. Christmas lights twinkled on the buildings across the street. A few snowflakes drifted down, not enough to stick but enough to feel festive. Thank you, Brielle said, facing Warren. You didn't have to do that, but it meant everything to us. The pleasure was mine, Warren said. Truly. Merry Christmas, Amara said, hugging Warren's leg spontaneously. He looked startled for a moment, then bent down and hugged her back. Merry Christmas, sweetheart. Jaden joined the hug and Warren closed his eyes, holding these two small humans like they were precious. When he stood, Brielle saw tears on his cheeks. Do you have plans for Christmas Day? He asked suddenly. We're going to have a nice quiet day at home, Brielle said, which was code for we have no plans and no money for plans. Would you consider coming to my house for lunch? I'm a decent cook and the house is far too big and empty. You'd be doing me another favor. Brielle's first instinct was to refuse. But she looked at her children's hopeful faces, thought about their empty apartment and lack of Christmas traditions and made a choice. We'd love to, she said. Thank you. Warren smiled, genuinely happy. He pulled out his wallet and extracted a business card. Here's my address and phone number. Come around noon? Or earlier if you'd like. Noon is perfect. They exchanged goodnights and Brielle watched Warren walk to a sleek silver car in the parking lot. Not flashy but clearly expensive. He waved before driving away. On the bus ride home, the twins chattered excitedly about Warren and Christmas lunch and how nice people could be. Brielle held them close, feeling something she hadn't felt in a very long time. Oh. When they got back to their apartment, she helped the twins into pajamas and tucked them into the double bed they shared. She kissed their foreheads and turned out the light. In her own small room, Brielle sat on her bed and pulled out her wallet. 2 20s and 2 1s. She stared at them for a long moment, then noticed something. An envelope tucked behind where her driver's license sat. She pulled it out, confused. It was a plain white envelope with her name written on it in neat handwriting. She opened it. Inside was $500 in cash and a note. For the twins' Christmas gifts. You're doing a beautiful job. Warren. Brielle pressed her hand to her mouth, tears streaming down her face. When had he slipped this into her purse? At the restaurant, probably when she'd gone to the restroom with Amara. $500. She could buy the twins real presents. She could pay the electric bill that was overdue. She could buy groceries that would last more than 3 days. She lay back on her bed, clutching the envelope and cried. Not from sadness this time, but from the overwhelming relief of knowing that sometimes, rarely but truly, people were exactly as kind as they seemed. Christmas morning arrived with pale winter sunlight filtering through the thin curtains of their apartment. Brielle woke early as she always did, her internal alarm clock refusing to acknowledge holidays. For a moment she lay still, listening to the quiet breathing of her twins in the next room, before the previous evening came rushing back. Warren Bradford. The dinner. The $500 now hidden in her underwear drawer. She'd stayed awake half the night, alternating between gratitude and disbelief. Things like this didn't happen to people like her. Yet the money was real, counted and recounted 3 times before she'd finally hidden it away. Brielle rose and padded quietly to the twins' room. They were still asleep, tangled together in their shared bed, Amara's arm thrown over Jaden's back. She watched them for a moment, these two miracles who kept her going when nothing else could. She'd used some of Warren's gift last night, sneaking out after the twins fell asleep to the 24-hour drugstore 3 blocks away. Nothing extravagant but real gifts. A baby doll with accessories for Amara, a set of action figures for Jaden, new coloring books for both, and warm pajamas they desperately needed. She'd wrapped everything in bright paper at the kitchen table at 2 in the morning, tears streaming down her face the entire time. Now those presents sat under the small artificial tree she'd also bought, a 3-foot tabletop version that had been marked down to $15. It wasn't much by most standards, but in their apartment, it looked beautiful. Mama? Amara's sleepy voice called. Is it Christmas? It's Christmas, baby. The twins tumbled out of bed and rushed to the living room, stopping short when they saw the tree and presents. Their faces lit up with wonder so pure it made Brielle's chest ache. Santa came, Jaden whispered as if speaking too loud might make it all disappear. He sure did, Brielle said, smiling through more tears. They tore into the presents with appropriate 6-year-old enthusiasm, squealing over each item. Amara immediately named her doll Grace and began brushing her hair. Jaden set up elaborate battle scenes with his action figures on the coffee table. This is the best Christmas ever, Amara declared, hugging her new doll. Brielle thought about all the Christmases she'd imagined giving them. Big houses with huge trees, piles of expensive toys, everything children were supposed to have. But watching them now, completely content with these simple gifts, she realized they didn't need extravagance. They needed to feel loved and secure. Everything else was just decoration. We need to get ready soon, Brielle said after they'd played for an hour. Remember, we're going to Mr. Warren's house for lunch. Can I bring Grace? Amara asked. Of course. And Jaden, you can bring 2 of your action figures if you want. Getting 3 people ready in their tiny bathroom was always a choreography, but they managed. Brielle dressed the twins in their nicest clothes, navy pants and red sweaters she'd gotten at a thrift store but looked practically new. She wore her only dress, a simple green one she usually saved for job interviews she never got. Warren's address led them to a neighborhood Brielle had only driven through on the bus. Large houses set back from the street, perfect lawns even in winter, luxury cars and driveways. She checked the address 3 times, sure she'd made a mistake. But there it was, number 847, a beautiful 2-story home with dark blue shutters and a wraparound porch. She stood at the end of the driveway, suddenly feeling underdressed and out of place. Come on, Mama, Jaden urged, already walking toward the front door. Warren must have been watching because the door opened before they reached it. He wore casual clothes, khaki pants and a burgundy sweater, and his smile was genuine and welcoming. You came, he said, sounding relieved. I was worried you might change your mind. We wouldn't miss it, Brielle said. Thank you for inviting us. Thank you for coming. Please come in. The interior of Warren's home was stunning but not cold. Hardwood floors, comfortable furniture, family photos on every surface. It was clearly the home of someone who'd lived a full life, not a showpiece. Your home is beautiful, Brielle said. Patricia decorated most of it. I haven't had the heart to change much. Warren led them through to a spacious living room where a Christmas tree easily 8 feet tall stood by the windows, decorated with what looked like decades of collected ornaments. Wow, both twins breathed in unison. Do you like it? Patricia and I collected these ornaments over 42 years of marriage. Each one has a story. Warren pointed to a handmade ceramic star. That one our daughter made in 2nd grade. You have a daughter? Brielle asked. Melissa. She lives in Seattle with her husband and 2 kids. They wanted me to come out there for Christmas, but I wasn't ready to travel. We did a video call this morning though. There was something in his voice, a careful neutrality that suggested complicated feelings. Brielle understood. Families were rarely simple. Can we look at the ornaments? Amara asked politely. Absolutely. I'll tell you about any you're curious about. While the twins explored the tree with Warren, Brielle wandered to the mantel where more photos sat. A younger Warren with a pretty woman who must have been Patricia. Their daughter at various ages. Graduations, weddings, grandchildren. A whole life documented in silver frames. She was very beautiful, Brielle said when Warren joined her. Inside and out. We met in college, married right after graduation. People said we were too young, that it wouldn't last. We proved them wrong. His voice carried pride and pain in equal measure. The house feels too big now. Too quiet. I'm sorry you're alone. I'm not alone today, Warren said, turning to smile at the twins. Thanks to you. He'd prepared a feast. Roasted chicken, mashed potatoes, green beans, rolls that smelled like heaven. Everything was set out on a dining table that could easily seat 12 but was set for 4, clustered at one end to feel more intimate. You made all this? Brielle asked, amazed. I've had to learn to cook for myself. I'm not Patricia's level, but I manage. The meal was delicious. Warren asked the twins about their favorite subjects in school, their friends, what they wanted to be when they grew up. Amara said a teacher, Jaden wanted to be a firefighter. Warren listened like their dreams mattered. After lunch, he showed them Patricia's piano in the sitting room. It was a beautiful upright in dark wood, the bench covered in faded burgundy velvet. Do either of you play? Warren asked. We've never tried, Brielle admitted. I always thought it would be nice to learn. Patricia taught piano lessons for years. She'd have loved teaching you. Warren sat at the bench and played a simple tune, something soft and a little sad. I'm not very good, but she tried to teach me. It's pretty, Amara said, climbing up next to him on the bench. Warren showed her how to place her fingers on the keys, playing a simple scale together. Jaden watched from Brielle's lap, curious but content to observe. The afternoon passed in a warm blur of music, stories, and laughter. When early evening arrived and Brielle said they should get going, Warren walked them to the door slowly, clearly reluctant to see them leave. This was the best Christmas I've had in 2 years, he said quietly to Brielle. Thank you for giving an old man some joy. You're not old, Brielle said. And thank you for everything. The dinner last night, She lowered her voice, the gift. You didn't have to do that. I wanted to. You have beautiful children, Brielle. You're doing something really special, raising them with so much love. I'm trying. You're succeeding. As they stepped onto the porch, Warren stopped them. I'd like to stay in touch if that's all right. Maybe you could all come over again sometime. Or I could take the twins for ice cream. Whatever feels comfortable. Brielle saw the loneliness in his eyes, the hope that this connection might continue. She thought about how the twins had bloomed under his attention, how she'd felt less alone today than she had in months. We'd like that, she said. Very much. Warren's relief was visible. He pulled out his phone. May I get your number? They exchanged contact information and Warren promised to call soon. On the bus ride home, the twins chattered about the piano and the ornaments and how Mr. Warren was the nicest person they'd ever met. Brielle held their hands and stared out the window at the darkening city. In her purse, Warren's business card sat next to her wallet. She thought about his big empty house, his dead wife, his distant daughter. She thought about her small apartment, her exhausting job, her uncertain future. Two people from completely different worlds, connected by a chance encounter in a diner on Christmas Eve. It seemed impossible. But then again, the best things in life usually did. Her phone buzzed with a text message. Warren. Thank you again for today. You've given me something to look forward to. Get home safely. Brielle typed back. Thank you for everything. Talk soon. She meant it. Something had shifted, some door had opened. She didn't know where it would lead, but for the first time in a long time, she wasn't afraid to find out. 2 days after Christmas, Brielle's phone rang while she was getting ready for her evening shift at Green Valley Care Home. The twins were at their neighbor Ms. Rodriguez's apartment, where the older woman watched them for a small fee Brielle could barely afford but had no choice about. Warren's name appeared on her screen. Hello, she answered, surprised. Brielle, hi. I hope I'm not calling at a bad time. Not at all. I have about 20 minutes before I need to leave for work. I was calling because I wondered if you and the twins would like to come over for New Year's Eve. Nothing fancy, just dinner and maybe we could let the kids stay up to watch the ball drop on television. Brielle smiled. The invitation didn't surprise her. Warren had texted twice since Christmas just checking in, seeing how they were doing. She'd responded warmly but hadn't expected the friendship to deepen so quickly. The twins would love that. But Warren, you don't have to keep feeding us. I know I don't have to. I want to. Humor an old man who enjoys company. You keep saying old man, but I googled you, Brielle admitted. You're only 63. That's not old. Warren laughed. You googled me? Should I be flattered or concerned? Just making sure you weren't a serial killer. And your conclusion? The internet says you're a successful businessman and philanthropist who sold his medical equipment company for a substantial amount. Also, there's a scholarship at the State University in Patricia's name. She always wanted to help nursing students. We set that up a few years before she got sick. His voice grew quieter. I'm glad you looked me up. I'd have done the same in your position. So New Year's Eve? Please. Come around 5. We'll eat early so the twins don't get too tired. After they hung up, Brielle stood holding her phone, thinking. Warren's attention to her family was generous, but she wondered about his motives. Not in a suspicious way. She genuinely believed he was kind. But she also recognized loneliness when she saw it. Warren was filling a void, and she needed to make sure he understood boundaries, that they weren't a replacement for his real family. Still, the twins adored him, and honestly so did she. Not romantically. Warren was more like the father she'd never had, the grandfather her children deserved. There were worse things than accepting kindness from a lonely widower. New Year's Eve arrived cold and clear. Brielle dressed the twins in the new pajamas she'd bought with Warren's money, figuring if they were staying up late, they might as well be comfortable. She wore jeans and a blue sweater, nothing fancy. Warren's face lit up when he opened the door. You came. Of course we came, Amara said, hugging his leg in greeting. He'd prepared spaghetti and meatballs, garlic bread, and a salad. Simple food but made with care. They ate at the kitchen table this time, a cozier space than the formal dining room. How was your week? Warren asked Brielle. Long. We had 2 residents pass away, which is always hard. But most of the others are doing well. You care about them. I do. Mrs. Chin in room 14 has no family. I spend extra time with her when I can. Warren nodded thoughtfully. That's the mark of a good nurse. Patricia used to talk about healthcare workers like you, said you were the backbone of the system. I'm not a nurse yet. Still just an aide. Yet? Warren repeated. You said yet. So you still want to finish school? I do. But between work and the twins, I don't see how. The community college offers an RN program, but it's full-time during the day. I'd need childcare and I'd have to quit my job, which means no income. She shrugged. It's just not realistic right now. What if it could be? Warren asked carefully. What do you mean? He set down his fork. I've been thinking about this since Christmas. I'd like to help you go back to school. Pay for tuition, books, childcare, and provide a monthly stipend so you don't have to work while you study. Brielle stared at him. Warren, no. I couldn't accept that. It's too much. Why is it too much? Because it's thousands of dollars. Years of support. You barely know us. I know enough. I know you're a dedicated mother, a hard worker, and someone with dreams you've put aside for your children. I know Patricia would have wanted to help someone like you. He leaned forward. Brielle, I have more money than I could spend in 3 lifetimes. My daughter is financially secure. I could let it sit in accounts earning interest, or I could use it to change someone's life. Let me do this. Warren. Before you say no, think about the twins. Think about what it would mean for them to have a mother who's a registered nurse, who has stability and career prospects. Think about yourself, about the life you deserve. Brielle felt tears building. Why me? Because you remind me of Patricia. She came from nothing, worked her way through nursing school, never stopped caring about people. She'd have liked you enormously. He smiled sadly. And because I need purpose, Brielle. Since Patricia died, I've been going through motions. You and the twins, you've reminded me what it feels like to matter to someone. You matter, Brielle said softly. Then let me do this. Not as charity. As an investment in someone worthy. The twins had finished eating and wandered into the living room, leaving the adults to talk. Brielle could hear them playing with toys Warren must have bought specifically for their visits. I don't know what to say. Say yes. Say you'll let me help. There don't have to be strings attached. You're not obligated to me for anything. If our friendship fades, that's okay. I just want to know I helped someone achieve their dreams. Brielle thought about her cramped apartment, her exhausting schedule, her constant anxiety about money. She thought about the possibility of better work, stable income, a career she actually wanted. She thought about giving the twins a better life. Yes, she whispered. Okay. Yes. Warren's smile was radiant. Really? Really? I don't know how to thank you. Be successful. That's all the thanks I need. They talked details over coffee while the twins played. Warren wanted to set up an account in Brielle's name, deposit enough to cover 2 years of school plus living expenses. She'd need to quit her job at Green Valley to attend full-time, but the nursing program was only 18 months. The money would see her through graduation and give her a cushion while she looked for work as an RN. I'll also pay for quality childcare, Warren added. Not just someone to watch them, but a good program where they can thrive. This is too much. It's exactly enough. Patricia left me well provided for, Brielle. She'd be happy to know her legacy is helping a future nurse. As midnight approached, they gathered in the living room to watch the countdown on television. Warren poured sparkling cider for the children and champagne for the adults. When the ball dropped and the new year arrived, Brielle felt something she hadn't felt in years. Optimism. Real, solid hope for the future. To new beginnings, Warren toasted. To friendship, Brielle added. To Mr. Warren, Jaden said, making everyone laugh. The twins fell asleep on Warren's couch before 1 a.m. Warren covered them with soft blankets and insisted Brielle stay a while longer. Tell me about your ex-husband, he said gently. If you're comfortable. Brielle hesitated, then decided Warren deserved honesty. Todd and I married young. I thought we were in love, but I think we were just scared and pregnant. He worked construction, was good at it, but he couldn't handle responsibility. When the twins were born, he pulled away. Started staying out late, drinking, spending money we didn't have. Did he hurt you? Not physically. But emotionally, yes. He'd tell me I was trapping him, that the kids ruined his life. Then he'd apologize and promise to change. It was a cycle. She stared at her hands. I finally filed for divorce 6 months ago. He didn't fight it, didn't ask for custody. Just left. I haven't heard from him since the papers were signed. He's a fool. Maybe. But I'm better off without him. The twins are better off. You're very strong, Brielle. I don't feel strong. I feel like I'm barely keeping my head above water most days. That's what strength looks like. Not the absence of struggle, but the refusal to give up despite it. Warren poured her more champagne. You're going to be a wonderful nurse. As Brielle carried her sleeping twins to a taxi Warren insisted on calling and paying for, she felt something shift in her understanding of the world. Kindness existed. People helped each other. Not everyone had ulterior motives. Warren stood on his porch, waving as they drove away, looking less alone than he had on Christmas Eve. In the taxi, with a sleeping twin on each side of her, Brielle allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, her life was about to change. January brought cold winds and new routines. Brielle enrolled in the nursing program at Metro Community College, starting with the spring semester that began in mid-January. Warren had been true to his word, setting up an account with enough money to cover tuition, books, fees, childcare, and a monthly stipend that was actually more than she'd been making at Green Valley. Quitting her job had been harder than expected. She'd grown attached to the residents, particularly Mrs. Chin, who cried when Brielle told her she was leaving. "You come visit," the old woman had insisted, gripping Brielle's hand with surprising strength. "I will. I promise." Mrs. Chin had smiled. "You be good nurse. You have kind heart." The twins started attending Bright Horizons Learning Center, a quality childcare program that offered after-school care and educational activities. It cost more per month than Brielle had previously paid in rent, but Warren covered it without blinking. "Are they happy there?" he'd asked when he called to check in, something he did every few days now. "They love it. Amara is taking an art class and Jaden joined a soccer program." "Good. That's what matters." Nursing school was intense. Brielle hadn't been in a classroom in 7 years, and the material was challenging. Anatomy, physiology, pharmacology, clinical skills. Her brain hurt most evenings as she studied at their small kitchen table while the twins slept. But she loved it. Every lecture, every lab, every piece of knowledge that clicked into place felt like reclaiming a part of herself she'd buried. Her instructors praised her dedication. Her classmates, mostly younger students fresh from high school, looked at her with respect when they learned she was a single mother putting herself through school. Warren became a regular part of their lives. He'd pick up the twins from Bright Horizons once a week, taking them for ice cream or to the park, giving Brielle time to study. On weekends they'd sometimes go to his house for dinner. He taught Amara more piano, showed Jaden his collection of old science fiction books. "You're spoiling them," Brielle told him one Saturday afternoon in February. "Is that so wrong?" "No. But I worry you're getting too attached." Warren looked at her seriously. "Would that be a problem?" "I just don't want anyone to get hurt." "Your daughter, Melissa, does she know about us?" "I've mentioned I've made new friends. She seems happy about it." "Does she though?" Brielle pushed gently. "Warren, I'm grateful for everything. But I also recognize that we might be filling a space in your life that maybe should be filled by your actual family." Warren was quiet for a moment. "Melissa and I have a complicated relationship. She thinks I should move to Seattle, live in their guest house, be available for the grandkids whenever they need babysitting. She means well, but she doesn't understand that I'm not ready to give up my independence." "Have you told her that?" "I've tried. She hears, I don't want to be with you, when what I mean is, I need to live my own life." He sighed. "Patricia mediated between us. Without her, Melissa and I don't quite know how to talk to each other. Maybe you should visit them. Let her see you're doing okay." "Maybe," Warren agreed. "But right now I'm happy with my life here. With my routines. With this." He gestured to include Brielle and the twins, who were building a blanket fort in his living room. In March, Brielle took her first major exam. She studied for 2 weeks straight, barely sleeping, running on coffee and determination. Warren watched the twins' extra hours, brought prepared meals to her apartment so she wouldn't have to cook, and sent encouraging text messages. The day of the exam, her phone buzzed as she sat in the classroom waiting for the test to be distributed. "You've got this. Patricia is proud of you. So am I." She'd scored a 92, the second highest in the class. Warren took them all out to dinner to celebrate, to a nice restaurant where Brielle felt initially out of place but gradually relaxed. The twins were on their best behavior, using proper manners, making Warren beam with pride. "You're raising gentlemen and a lady," he told Brielle. "I'm trying." April brought rain and Amara's 7th birthday. Brielle had saved from her stipend to buy a proper cake and presents, determined to give her daughter a good day. But when Warren asked if he could throw Amara a party at his house, inviting her classmates from Bright Horizons, Brielle couldn't say no to her daughter's excited face. Warren transformed his backyard into a princess wonderland. Pink and purple decorations, a bouncy castle, games and activities. He'd hired someone to face paint and a woman to dress as Amara's favorite cartoon princess. 20 children showed up, and Warren greeted each family, played games with the kids, seemed genuinely happy to host. Brielle watched him from the patio helping serve cake, and felt her heart swell with affection for this man who'd become so important to their lives. "Your dad throws a great party," one of the other mothers commented. "Oh, he's not." Brielle started, then stopped. "He's a family friend." "Well, Amara's lucky to have him." Yes, Brielle thought. They all were. That evening, after the guests left and the twins crashed from sugar and excitement, Warren and Brielle cleaned up the yard together. "Thank you for today," Brielle said. "You made Amara feel like a princess." "It was my pleasure. I haven't thrown a children's party since Melissa was young. I'd forgotten how fun they could be. Can I ask you something personal?" "Of course." "Are you happy, Warren? Really happy? Or are you just keeping busy to avoid dealing with Patricia's death?" He stopped picking up paper plates and looked at her. "That's a fair question. At first, maybe I was just avoiding. But now, yes, Brielle, I'm happy. Not the same as when Patricia was alive, but a different kind of happiness. I'm needed again. I have purpose. You've given me that. We haven't done anything. You've let me be part of your lives. That's everything." In May, as spring warmed into early summer, everything felt settled. Brielle was excelling in school. The twins were thriving. Warren was part of their family in all but name. And then Todd showed up. Brielle came home from class one afternoon to find her ex-husband sitting on the steps outside their apartment building. He looked rougher than she remembered, thinner, with dark circles under his eyes. "Hello, Bri," he said, using the nickname she'd always hated. "What are you doing here, Todd?" "I came to see my kids. I have rights." "You gave up those rights when you disappeared." "I've been getting my life together. I'm sober now, got a job. I want to be in Jaden and Amara's lives." Brielle's heart pounded. "You can't just show up after 6 months and expect." "I can and I am. I talked to a lawyer. I'm filing for custody." The world tilted. "What? Shared custody? You can't keep me from my children. You abandoned them, Todd. You haven't paid a penny of child support. You don't even know what grade they're in." "I made mistakes, but I'm their father. The courts will see that." He stood and walked away, leaving Brielle shaking on the steps. Inside, she called Warren with trembling hands. "He can't do this," she said, tears streaming. "He can't take them from me." "He won't," Warren said firmly. "I'll call my attorney right now. Don't worry, Brielle. We'll fight this together." But as she hung up, Brielle felt the fragile peace she'd built start to crumble. Todd was back and nothing would ever be the same again. If you're invested in Brielle's journey and want to see how she fights for her children, please subscribe. This story is about more than one woman's struggle. It's about all of us who refuse to give up when life gets hard. Leave a comment telling us what you'd do in her situation. Warren's attorney, Lisa Chen, no relation to the Mrs. Chen from Green Valley, met with Brielle 2 days after Todd's surprise appearance. Lisa was a sharp woman in her early 40s who specialized in family law. She sat across from Brielle in Warren's home office, notepad open, expression serious but not unkind. "Tell me everything about your marriage and divorce," Lisa said. Brielle walked her through it all. The rushed wedding when she found out she was pregnant at 19. Todd's initial excitement about being a father that faded before the twins were even born. The years of broken promises, disappearing money, late nights where he'd come home smelling of alcohol and other women's perfume. The final straw when she'd found credit card statements showing tens of thousands in debt she didn't know existed. "He moved out when I filed. Signed the papers without argument. The judge granted me full custody because Todd didn't contest it. He was supposed to pay $300 a month in child support, but he's never paid once." Lisa made notes. "And his claim that he's sober and employed? Could be true. Todd was never a bad person, just a weak one. But even if he is sober, that doesn't erase 6 months of absence. The twins ask about him sometimes, but they've stopped expecting him to show up." "How are they doing now? Academically, emotionally?" "They're thriving. Straight A's in school. They're in a good childcare program, they have routines and stability. They're happy. And you're in nursing school, correct?" "Yes. I'll graduate in December. I have excellent grades." Lisa nodded. "Here's what we're dealing with. Texas law generally favors both parents having relationships with their children. The courts like to see fathers involved, even if they haven't been in the past. Todd's attorney will argue he made mistakes but has reformed." Brielle's stomach dropped. "So he could win?" "He could get partial custody, yes. Probably supervised at first, then maybe alternating weekends. Full custody is unlikely unless he can prove you're an unfit mother, which seems impossible given what you've told me." "I can't lose them, Lisa. They're everything." "You won't lose them. But you need to prepare for the possibility of sharing them with Todd. Lisa leaned forward. Tell me about Warren's involvement in your life. Brielle explained their friendship, Warren's financial support for her education, his relationship with the twins. Todd's attorney will use that, Lisa said bluntly. They'll paint you as someone who accepted money from a stranger, implying poor judgment or possibly something inappropriate. Warren has been nothing but kind. He's like a grandfather to them. I believe you. But we need to be prepared for how it will be twisted. Todd will argue that some old man he's never met shouldn't have more access to his children than their biological father. That's not fair. Family court rarely is. Lisa closed her notepad. Here's what we do. We document everything. Every missed child support payment, every month Todd was absent, every communication or lack thereof. We get statements from the twins' teachers, their childcare providers, anyone who can speak to your quality as a mother and the children's well-being. We show the judge a clear picture of two children who are happy, healthy, and thriving under your care. And Warren? Warren's support is actually helpful. It shows you have a support system, that you make good decisions about who to bring into your children's lives. We'll position him as a family friend who's been generous, nothing more. Brielle felt slightly better, but the anxiety remained. When is the court date? 3 weeks. Todd's attorney filed quickly, probably hoping to catch you off guard. But we have time to prepare. After Lisa left, Warren found Brielle sitting in his living room, staring at nothing. What did she say? He asked gently. That we have a fight ahead, but we'll probably win. Probably? Todd could get partial custody. Supervised visits at first, maybe more later. Warren sat beside her. How do you feel about that? Terrified. Angry. The twins barely remember him. He's essentially a stranger to them now. What if they don't want to go with him? What if he disappoints them again? Her voice cracked. What if they blame me for making them spend time with him? Children are resilient, Brielle. And they know you love them. Whatever happens, they'll be okay because you'll make sure of it. I wish I had your confidence. You've faced harder things than this. You've rebuilt your entire life in 6 months. You're in school, excelling, giving your children stability. Todd showing up doesn't erase any of that. Brielle leaned her head on Warren's shoulder, grateful for his solid presence. Thank you for being here. For everything. Where else would I be? The next 3 weeks passed in a blur of preparation. Lisa gathered documentation, interviewed character witnesses, built their case. Brielle tried to maintain normalcy for the twins, not telling them about the court case yet. They were too young to understand and she didn't want to worry them. Warren continued his regular visits, but now they felt slightly different. Brielle caught herself watching him with the twins, wondering what a judge would think. Would they see a kind man helping a struggling mother, or would they see something suspicious? Stop overthinking, Warren told her one evening when he caught her frowning. We're not doing anything wrong. I know. But Todd's attorney will twist it. Then we'll set the record straight. 2 days before the court date, Todd called Brielle's phone. She almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. What do you want? I want to see my kids before the hearing. Just a short visit. Please, Bri. Don't call me that. And no. If you want to see them, convince a judge. I'm trying to do the right thing here. The right thing was not abandoning them in the first place. She hung up, hands shaking. The night before court, Brielle couldn't sleep. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, running through every possible scenario. Lisa had prepared her for questions she might be asked, told her to stay calm and honest, to not let Todd's attorney provoke her into anger. At 3 a.m, she got up and checked on the twins. They slept peacefully, tangled together as always. She watched them breathe, these two perfect humans who depended on her completely. I won't let him hurt you, she whispered. I promise. The morning of the hearing, Warren insisted on coming with her. For moral support, he said. I'll sit in the gallery. You won't be alone. They met Lisa at the courthouse, a gray building that felt cold and impersonal. Lisa reviewed their strategy one last time. Stay calm, answer questions directly, don't volunteer extra information. If his attorney tries to rattle you, take a breath before responding. Remember, the judge is looking at what's best for the twins, and that's clearly you. Inside the courtroom, Brielle saw Todd for the first time in 6 months. He'd cleaned up, wearing a suit that looked borrowed, his hair cut short. He looked nervous, which gave her a small measure of satisfaction. His attorney was a man named Robert Sterling, older and tired-looking. Not the aggressive shark Brielle had feared, which might work in her favor. The judge, Honorable Patricia Okonkwo, yes, another Patricia, Warren had noted with a sad smile, was a black woman in her 50s with an expression that revealed nothing. Sterling presented Todd's case first. He'd been young and overwhelmed when the twins were born. He'd made mistakes, struggled with alcohol, but he'd gotten sober through a program. He had steady work now at a warehouse. He wanted to be in his children's lives, to be the father he should have been from the start. Mr. Martinez has changed his life, Sterling argued. He deserves a chance to prove himself to his children. Then it was Lisa's turn. She presented the documented evidence of Todd's absence, the missed child support payments, the complete lack of communication for 6 months. Mr. Martinez claims he's changed, but change requires consistency, not sudden appearance when convenient, Lisa said. These children have stability now. They have routines, excellent academic performance, a mother who has sacrificed everything for their well-being. Disrupting that for a father who has shown no interest until facing a court date is not in their best interest. The judge asked Todd questions directly. Why had he waited 6 months? What made him think he was ready now? What could he offer his children? Todd stumbled through answers, claiming he'd needed time to get himself together, that he was ready now, that he loved his kids. Love requires presence, Mr. Martinez, Judge Okonkwo said dryly. It requires showing up even when it's hard. Then Sterling brought up Warren, and Brielle's pulse quickened. Ms. Thompson has been accepting significant financial support from an elderly man her children call Mr. Warren. She allowed him access to her children despite him being a stranger. This raises questions about her judgment. Lisa stood immediately. Your Honor, Warren Bradford is a respected businessman and philanthropist whose support has allowed Ms. Thompson to pursue her nursing education, better providing for her children. His background check is clean, he's known in the community for charitable work, and character witnesses will testify to his positive influence on this family. The judge looked at Brielle. Miss Thompson, tell me about Mr. Bradford. Brielle stood, her voice steady despite her nerves. Warren is a family friend who's been incredibly kind to us. He lost his wife 2 years ago and was lonely. We met by chance on Christmas Eve. He's been like a grandfather to my children, nothing inappropriate or strange. He's helping me get my nursing degree so I can provide better for Jaden and Amara. That's all. And you trust him with your children? Completely, Your Honor. He's one of the best people I've ever known. Judge Okonkwo made notes, her expression unreadable. She asked about the twins' current lives, their school performance, their happiness. She reviewed documents from their teachers, their childcare providers, all praising Brielle's parenting and the children's well-being. Finally she sat back. I'm going to take a short recess to review the evidence. We'll reconvene in 30 minutes. Those 30 minutes felt like hours. Brielle sat in the hallway with Warren and Lisa, unable to sit still. You did great, Lisa assured her. How can you tell? The judge is thorough. She's looking at everything, which means she's taking this seriously. When they returned to the courtroom, Judge Okonkwo looked at both parties. I've reviewed all the evidence and testimony. Mr. Martinez, I believe you when you say you want to be in your children's lives. However, wanting something and being ready for it are different things. You've been absent for 6 months with no contact and no child support. That suggests a pattern of avoidance when things get difficult. Todd's face fell. Miss Thompson, you've clearly provided excellent care for these children. Your current situation, with support from Mr. Bradford and your pursuit of education, shows good judgment and planning for the future. Brielle held her breath. Therefore, I'm granting Miss Thompson continued full custody. Mr. Martinez will have supervised visitation twice a month for 3 months. If he attends all scheduled visits, is current on child support and demonstrates genuine commitment, we'll revisit potentially expanding to unsupervised visitation. But that's not guaranteed. These children need consistency, not disruption. Relief flooded through Brielle so powerfully she almost collapsed. Mr. Martinez, you're ordered to pay all back child support within 90 days and continue monthly payments. Failure to comply will result in contempt charges. This hearing is adjourned. Outside the courthouse, Brielle let herself cry. Warren hugged her tightly. You won, he said. We won, she corrected. I couldn't have done this without you. Lisa smiled. The judge saw exactly what I knew she'd see. A dedicated mother doing her best, and a father who needs to prove himself before earning trust. Todd appeared as they were leaving, looking defeated. Bree, he called. She turned, feeling nothing but exhaustion. What? I just want to know them. That's all. Then show up for the supervised visits. Be consistent. Pay your support. Prove you mean it this time. She paused. They're good kids, Todd. Don't let them down again. He nodded and walked away. In Warren's car, driving back to pick up the twins from school, Brielle felt the weight lift slightly. "Thank you," she said again. "You don't have to keep thanking me." "Yes, I do. You saved us, Warren. You keep saving us." "You saved yourself, Brielle. I just provided some resources. Everything else is you." That evening she told the twins gently that their father wanted to see them, that they'd have visits twice a month. Amara looked uncertain. Jaden asked if they had to go. "He's your dad," Brielle explained. "And he says he wants to know you better. We'll try it, okay? If it doesn't work out, we'll deal with that." "Will Mr. Warren still come over?" Amara asked, her main concern. "Of course. He's not going anywhere." "Good," Jaden said. "I like Mr. Warren better than Dad anyway." Brielle didn't correct him even though she probably should have. Because honestly she felt the same way. Summer arrived with humid heat and new routines. Brielle completed her first year of nursing school with high honors, her instructors praising her clinical skills and compassionate approach. The twins finished first grade, both reading at third grade level and thriving socially at Bright Horizons. And Todd started his supervised visits. The first one happened at a community center with a social worker present. Brielle dropped off the twins, her stomach churning with anxiety, and went to wait at a nearby coffee shop with Warren, who'd insisted on coming for support. "They'll be fine," Warren assured her. "And it's only 2 hours." Brielle stared at her untouched coffee. "What if he disappoints them? Then you'll be there to help them process it. That's what you do. You're their safe place." When she picked them up, both twins were quiet. Todd stood awkwardly by the social worker, clearly wanting to say something but not finding the words. "How was it?" Brielle asked the social worker, a kind woman named Stephanie. "It went well. A bit stilted, but that's normal for first visits. Mr. Martinez was appropriate and engaged." In the car, Brielle asked the twins directly. "How was seeing your dad?" "Okay," Amara said non-committally. "He asked lots of questions," Jaden added. "Like what our favorite foods are and stuff." "Did you have fun?" "Not really. He's like a stranger." Brielle's heart ached for all of them. For the twins meeting a father who should have been familiar, for Todd trying to connect with children he'd essentially abandoned. The second visit went similarly. Todd was trying, she could give him that. He brought small gifts, asked about school, played games. But there was no real connection, no natural ease between father and children. After the third visit, Stephanie pulled Brielle aside. "He's doing everything right on paper. Showing up on time, engaged, appropriate. But I can see the children aren't bonding with him. Is that a problem?" "Not legally. But it is sad. He seems genuinely remorseful about missing so much time." "Regret doesn't undo absence," Brielle said, perhaps more harshly than intended. By July, the supervised visits had become routine. The twins accepted them without complaint but didn't look forward to them either. Todd was essentially a distant uncle they saw twice a month, not a father they missed or connected with. He'd started paying child support at least. $300 appeared in Brielle's account every month, helping offset expenses even though Warren's support covered most things. "I don't know if I should feel guilty," Brielle told Warren one evening. They were sitting on his back porch while the twins played in the yard, both having become comfortable enough in Warren's home to treat it like their own. "Guilty about what?" "That the twins don't seem to really care about Todd. I should want them to have a relationship with their father, but honestly, I'm relieved they're not attached." "That's understandable. He hurt you and you're protecting them from potential hurt. Is that fair though? People change. Maybe he has." Warren considered this. Maybe he has. But trust is earned, not given freely. Todd will have to prove himself over time. If he does, the twins might warm to him eventually. If he doesn't, well then your instincts were right. Brielle leaned back in her chair. "Sometimes I feel like I'm constantly waiting for something bad to happen. Like this peace we've found is temporary. Life is temporary, Brielle. But that doesn't mean you can't enjoy the good moments while they last." In August, Warren's daughter Melissa finally visited from Seattle. She arrived with her husband, Derek, and their 2 children, ages 9 and 11. Warren was nervous about the visit, about having Melissa meet Brielle and the twins. What if she doesn't understand? He'd worried. What if she thinks it's strange? "Then you explain," Brielle said. "Tell her the truth. We're friends and you've been helping us. There's nothing strange about kindness." The meeting happened at Warren's house over Sunday lunch. Melissa was a polished woman in her late 30s, wearing expensive casual clothes and a slightly guarded expression. Derek was friendly but quiet, letting his wife lead. The children, Grace and Thomas, were polite but clearly more interested in their phones than meeting strangers. "So, you're the family Dad's been telling us about," Melissa said, shaking Brielle's hand with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "We've been lucky to have your father in our lives," Brielle replied carefully. Over lunch, the conversation was cordial but slightly strained. Melissa asked questions about Brielle's nursing school, her plans for the future, how she'd met Warren. All reasonable questions with edge underneath. The twins, sensing tension, were unusually quiet. Even Warren seemed less relaxed than usual. After the meal, while the children played outside and the men cleaned up the kitchen, Melissa asked to speak with Brielle privately. They walked to Warren's garden, out of earshot from the house. "I need to be direct," Melissa said. "What exactly is your relationship with my father?" "We're friends. He's been very generous with support for my education." "Why? What does he get out of this?" Brielle took a breath, controlling her irritation. "Your father was lonely and grieving when we met. We've given him companionship. He's given us support. It's mutual. It seems like he's given you a lot more than companionship." "He has. And I'm grateful every day. But I'm not taking advantage of him, if that's what you're implying." Melissa's expression softened slightly. "I'm not trying to accuse you. I'm trying to understand. Dad's been different since he met you, happier but also more distant from us. He barely visits, always has plans with you and your kids. He's mentioned you want him to move to Seattle. I want him close. I want him to be part of our lives, not playing grandfather to strangers." The words stung, but Brielle understood the feeling behind them. "I get that. But your father is his own person. He gets to decide how he spends his time." "Does he though? Or is he trying to replace the family he lost with a new one?" "Maybe. Or maybe he's just trying to find joy again. Would you rather he sat alone in that big house, grieving?" Melissa's eyes glistened. "Of course not. But I also don't want to lose him to people who don't really know him." "Then visit more. Call more often. Be present in his life." "We're not replacing you, Melissa. There's room for all of us." They stood in silence for a moment before Melissa spoke again, quieter. "He talks about you and your kids constantly. How smart they are, how hard you work. It's like you're the daughter he wishes he had. That's not fair, and I don't think it's true. Warren loves you. He talks about you all the time too. He's proud of you. He has a strange way of showing it. Have you told him you feel this way?" Melissa shook her head. "We don't really talk about feelings. We never have. Mom was the emotional one. Without her, Dad and I just don't connect the same way." "Then maybe start. Tell him you miss him. Tell him you want more time with him. I'll happily step back if that's what he needs." "Would you really?" "Yes. He's your father. That comes first." Some of the tension left Melissa's shoulders. "I'm sorry if I seemed hostile. I'm just protective." "I understand. I'd be the same way." They walked back to the house in more comfortable silence. The rest of the visit went better, Melissa warming slightly as she watched Warren interact with the twins, seeing the genuine affection there. Before leaving, she pulled Warren aside. Brielle couldn't hear their conversation, but she saw them hug tightly, saw Melissa wipe her eyes. "That went better than expected," Warren said after his family left. "She loves you. She's just worried." "I know. I told her I'd visit Seattle in September, spend a week there. Would you be okay managing without me for a bit?" "Of course. We managed before you, we'll manage for a week." But the thought of Warren being gone felt strange. He'd become such a constant in their lives, it was hard to imagine daily routines without him. September brought cooler weather and the start of second grade for the twins. Brielle began her final semester of nursing school, the home stretch before graduation and board exams. Todd's supervised visits continued with little change. The twins went because they had to, not because they wanted to. Warren spent a week in Seattle and returned looking both happy and exhausted. "How was it?" Brielle asked. "Good. Different. Melissa and I talked more honestly than we have in years. She understands now that I'm not abandoning her, I'm just living my life. And she invited all of us for Thanksgiving. You, me, the twins. She wants everyone together." Brielle blinked in surprise. "Really? Really?" She said, "If you're important to me, she wants to know you properly. So will you come?" "I'll pay for everything, obviously." Brielle thought about it. A trip to Seattle, meeting Warren's family on their turf, spending a major holiday together. It felt significant, like crossing some invisible line. But she also saw how much it meant to Warren, this blending of his two worlds. "We'd love to," she said. Warren's smile was radiant. "You've given me my family back, Brielle. Both of them. As October painted the trees gold and red, life felt balanced. Challenging, certainly. Brielle's coursework was intense. The twins needed constant attention. Todd's visits continued to be awkwardly neutral. But there was happiness too. Laughter. Hope. One evening, helping Amara with homework while Jaden built with blocks and Warren read the newspaper in the corner chair, Brielle had a moment of pure contentment. This makeshift family they'd built, it wasn't traditional or what anyone would have planned. But it was real and it was theirs. "Mama, can Mr. Warren come to my school play?" Amara asked suddenly. "Of course he can if he wants to." "I want to," Warren said without hesitation. "Will Dad come too?" Jaden asked. "He can if he wants. We'll invite him." "I hope he doesn't," Jaden said bluntly. "He makes things weird." Brielle didn't correct him because honestly Todd did make things weird. His presence was an uncomfortable reminder of past pain, of instability they'd all worked hard to move beyond. But he was still their father, and she had to give him chances to prove himself, even if she privately hoped he wouldn't take them. The school play happened in early November. Amara played a tree in the forest scene, delivering her one line with serious concentration. Both Warren and Todd showed up, sitting on opposite sides of the small auditorium. Afterwards, the twins hugged Warren enthusiastically and waved awkwardly at Todd from a distance. The contrast wasn't lost on anyone. "They really love that guy," Todd said, watching Warren lift Amara onto his shoulders. "He's been good to them. Good to all of us." "Yeah, I can see that." Todd looked sad but not angry. "I messed up, didn't I? Missed too much time." "You did. But it's not too late to be better going forward. They'll never really see me as their dad though." "They might. If you stick around, keep showing up, build trust. It just takes time." Todd nodded, looking at his children who felt like strangers. "I'll try." But Brielle could hear the doubt in his voice, the understanding that some things once broken can't fully be repaired. She felt sympathy for him despite everything. He'd realized too late what he'd thrown away. As they drove home that night, Warren at the wheel of his comfortable sedan, the twins chattering about the play in the back seat, Brielle felt grateful for the messy, complicated, beautiful life they'd built together. Not perfect, but real. And that was enough. The flight to Seattle happened the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. Brielle had never flown before, and the twins were beside themselves with excitement. Warren handled all the logistics with quiet efficiency. Booking tickets, arranging transportation, even packing suggestions sent in thoughtful text messages. "I'm nervous," Brielle admitted as they waited at the gate. "About flying or meeting Melissa again?" "Both. Mostly Melissa." Warren squeezed her hand. "She wants this to work. We all do." On the plane, Jaden pressed his face to the window while Amara held Brielle's hand during takeoff. Warren sat across the aisle, smiling at their wonder when they broke through the clouds. Melissa and Derek picked them up from the airport. She seemed warmer than during her August visit, hugging her father tightly and greeting Brielle with genuine friendliness. "Welcome to Seattle," she said. "It's supposed to rain all week, but that's just how we do Thanksgiving here." Their house was beautiful, a modern home in a nice neighborhood with mountain views. Grace and Thomas were more welcoming this time, showing Amara and Jaden their playroom and video game collection. That evening over dinner, the conversation flowed easier. Melissa asked Brielle about her final semester of nursing school, genuinely interested in her experiences. "When do you graduate?" Derek asked. "December 15th. Then I take my boards in January." "That's quite an accomplishment," Melissa said. "Especially doing it as a single mother." "I had a lot of help." Brielle looked at Warren. "Your father made it possible." "He's good at that," Melissa said, her voice carrying both pride and something more complicated. "Mom always said he had a hero complex, always wanting to fix things for people." Warren looked mildly uncomfortable. "I just believe in helping when I can." Over the next few days, Brielle watched Warren with his Seattle family. He was different here, slightly more formal, less relaxed. Melissa clearly loved him, but there was distance between them, years of communication patterns that didn't include vulnerability or deep emotion. On Thanksgiving morning, while helping Melissa prepare the meal, Brielle broached the subject carefully. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Do you and your dad ever talk about your mom?" Melissa's hands stilled over the turkey she was seasoning. "Not really. It's too painful for both of us." "Maybe that's the problem. Maybe you both need to grieve together instead of separately." "What do you mean?" "I think you're both so busy protecting each other from pain that you're not actually connecting. He doesn't want to burden you, you don't want to upset him. So you keep everything surface level." Melissa was quiet for a moment. That's probably true. But I don't know how to change it. It's been this way for so long. Just try. Tell him you miss talking about her. Ask him to share memories. Give each other permission to be sad together. Is that what you do? With your kids when they're struggling? I try. I want them to know they can always tell me the truth, even if it's hard. Melissa nodded thoughtfully. You're good for him, you know. Dad, he's different since he met you. Lighter. He's been good for us too. I can see that. Your kids adore him. They do. He's been the stable male presence they've needed. What about their father? Brielle explained the situation with Todd, the supervised visits, the lack of real connection. That must be hard, Melissa said. Wanting your children to have a relationship with their father but seeing it's not working. It is. But I can't force connection. They have to come to it on their own if they ever do. Thanksgiving dinner was a loud, happy affair with too much food and easy laughter. Watching Warren surrounded by both families, Brielle saw him truly happy. This was what he'd needed, not to choose between his old family and new friends, but to have both coexist. That night after the children were in bed, Brielle found Warren and Melissa talking quietly on the back porch. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. She started to retreat. No, stay, Melissa said. We were just talking about Mom. Brielle joined them, listening as they shared memories. Patricia's terrible singing voice, her insistence on elaborate Halloween costumes, the way she could make anyone feel heard and valued. I miss her so much, Melissa said, tears streaming. Every day. Me too, Warren replied, his own eyes wet. But I think she'd be happy about all this. He gestured to include Brielle in the sleeping house. She'd have liked Brielle. She'd have loved helping with the twins. She would have, Melissa agreed. Mom never could resist helping people. They sat in comfortable silence, the kind that comes from shared grief acknowledged rather than hidden. The flight home Sunday evening was bittersweet. The twins had loved Seattle, had bonded with Grace and Thomas. Warren seemed more settled, like he'd found equilibrium between his different worlds. Thank you for coming, he said to Brielle as they waited for their luggage. It meant everything to Melissa. Thank you for including us. Your daughter is really lovely. She is. We had a good talk, the kind Patricia would have facilitated. I told her about how I met you, how helping you made me feel purposeful again. She understood. Good. I'm glad. Back in their routines, December brought a flurry of activity. Final exams, clinical rotations, graduation preparations. The twins' school winter concert. Todd's continued supervised visits, now 3 months in with potential for unsupervised time being discussed. One evening, Warren asked to speak with Brielle privately. They sat in his study, hot tea in hands, rain pattering against the windows. I need to tell you something, he said. And I want you to be honest in return. Brielle's stomach tightened. Okay. I've been thinking about the future. You'll graduate in 2 weeks, start working in January. The twins will need less intensive childcare as they get older. I want to know where that leaves us. What do you mean? I mean our friendship has been built partly on your need and my ability to help. Once you're financially stable working as a nurse, will you still want me around? Or was this temporary? Brielle set down her tea and took Warren's hand. Warren, your family. That doesn't end because I get a job. You think I'd just disappear once I don't need money anymore? People move on. Lives change. Yes, they do. But some people stay. Warren, you've been the best thing that happened to us. Not because of money but because of you. The person you are, the way you love my children, the way you've believed in me. That doesn't have a price tag. You're sure? Completely sure. You're stuck with us. Warren's relief was palpable. I'm glad. Because I can't imagine my life without you all anymore. Good. Because we feel the same way. Graduation day arrived cold and clear. Brielle walked across the stage in her white nursing uniform, accepting her diploma with tears in her eyes. In the audience, Warren sat between the twins, all three cheering loudly. Todd was there too in the back, having asked to attend. She appreciated the gesture but didn't feel much about his presence either way. After the ceremony, Warren presented her with a gift. A stethoscope engraved with Patricia Thompson, RN. Patricia would have wanted you to have this, he said. She believed good nurses deserved good tools. Brielle held the stethoscope like the precious thing it was. Thank you. I'll take good care of it. I know you will. You're going to be an exceptional nurse, Brielle. Patricia would have been proud to know you. That night, they celebrated at Warren's house with a small party. Just them, Ms. Rodriguez from next door, and a few classmates Brielle had become close with. Simple food, good conversation, the feeling of accomplishment. As Brielle watched the twins play with the other children, watched Warren talk animatedly with Ms. Rodriguez about neighborhood news, she felt something click into place. This was her life now. Not perfect, still complicated, but filled with people who genuinely cared. She'd started the year broken, desperate, sitting in a diner with $42 wondering how to feed her children. Now she was a nurse, surrounded by love, with a future that felt possible. "You look happy," Warren observed, joining her by the window. "I'm happy. For the first time in years I actually am." "You've earned it." "We both have." Outside, Christmas lights twinkled on neighboring houses. Inside, laughter and warmth filled every corner. Brielle closed her eyes and breathed it in, this moment of pure contentment before life inevitably threw new challenges their way. But that was okay. Because she wasn't facing those challenges alone anymore. She had Warren, had the twins, had herself. And that was more than enough. January brought bitter cold and new beginnings. Brielle passed her nursing boards on the first attempt, scoring high enough to make her instructors send congratulatory emails. Job offers came quickly. 3 hospitals wanted her, impressed by her clinical rotations and references. She chose Metro General, the same hospital where Patricia had worked years ago. It felt right, like honoring the woman whose husband had changed her life. Pediatrics ward, night shift, Brielle told Warren when she accepted the position. The pay is good, benefits are excellent, and it'll work with the twins' schedule. Patricia would have loved that you're working in pediatrics. I thought the same thing. Her start date was February 1st, giving her a few weeks to adjust to the idea of being Nurse Thompson instead of Brielle, who was struggling. The title felt surreal, earned but somehow still not quite real. Todd's supervised visits had progressed to unsupervised twice-monthly weekends. Stephanie, the social worker, felt he'd proven consistency and appropriate behavior. The judge agreed, modifying the custody arrangement in late January. Brielle wasn't thrilled, but she had no legal grounds to object. Todd had done everything asked of him, shown up for every visit, paid his child support, maintained employment. The first unsupervised weekend was Valentine's weekend. Todd picked up the twins Friday evening, promising to return them Sunday by 6. Brielle stood in her apartment door, watching her children walk down the stairs with a man they barely knew, and fought the urge to call them back. "They'll be fine," Warren said over the phone when she called him immediately after. "You have to give him this chance." "I know. I just hate it." "I know you do. Want me to come over? We could watch a movie, keep your mind occupied." "Yes, please." Warren arrived 30 minutes later with takeout and a selection of comedies. They ate and watched movies and deliberately didn't talk about the twins, but Brielle's mind kept wandering. Were they scared? Did they feel abandoned? What if Todd got drunk or disappeared with them? "Stop spiraling," Warren said gently, seeing her face. "He's had 6 months of supervised visits with 0 incidents. He's trying, Brielle. Trying doesn't mean succeeding." "No, but it means something." Sunday evening, Todd returned the twins exactly on time. They seemed fine, reporting they'd gone bowling and to a movie. Todd had let them eat too much junk food, but otherwise the visit had been uneventful. "See," Warren said later. "It was fine. This time." Over the following weeks, the pattern continued. Every other weekend, Todd would pick up the twins. They'd return unharmed but emotionally neutral, not excited about seeing him but not upset either. Just accepting it as part of their routine. Brielle started her job at Metro General and fell in love with the work. Pediatric nursing was challenging and heartbreaking and rewarding all at once. She bonded with the other night nurses, earned respect from the doctors, and felt herself becoming the nurse she'd always wanted to be. Warren continued his regular presence in their lives, picking up the twins from school when Brielle worked, having them over for dinner, helping with homework. He'd fully integrated into their family structure, accepted and loved. Then came March. Brielle was working a night shift when her phone rang at 2 a.m. Todd's number. Her heart stopped. "What's wrong? Are the twins okay?" "They're fine, they're asleep." "But Bri, I need to talk to you about something. Can you meet me tomorrow?" "What is this about?" "Just please. It's important." They met the next day at a coffee shop, neutral territory. Todd looked tired, older than his 27 years. "I've been offered a job in Houston," he said without preamble. "Construction supervisor position, significant pay raise. It's a good opportunity." Brielle's chest tightened. "When?" "I'd start in May. I want to take the twins with me." "Absolutely not." "Hear me out." "No. They're settled here. school, friends, stability. You don't get to uproot them for a job. I'm their father. I have rights now. Supervised visitation twice a month doesn't give you the right to move them across the state. It's unsupervised now. And I'm going back to court to petition for joint custody. I've proven I'm stable, Brielle. I deserve equal time with my kids. Brielle felt panic rising. This is about the job or about hurting me? It's about being a father. I messed up before, but I'm different now. I want to be in their lives fully. You haven't earned that. Haven't I? 6 months of perfect visits, every support payment on time, everything the court asked. What more do you want from me? I want you to put them first. They're happy here. They have a life. You can't just disrupt that. Why? Because it's inconvenient for you? Or because you want to keep playing house with your rich boyfriend? Warren is not my boyfriend. And don't make this about him. It is about him. He's replaced me. The kids probably call him dad when I'm not around. They don't. Because they know who their father is, even if they don't particularly like you. The words were cruel, but Brielle was too upset to care. Todd flinched but didn't back down. I'm filing the petition next week. See you in court. He walked out, leaving Brielle shaking with anger and fear. She called Lisa Chin immediately. Lisa listened calmly, then delivered bad news. He can file for joint custody. Given that he's maintained consistent visitation and support, a judge might grant it. The Houston move complicates things, but if he can show stable employment and housing there, he could argue for alternating school years or extended summer custody. But the twins don't want that. They're established here. Unfortunately, what children want only matters to a point. If Todd's proven he's a fit parent, the court may favor maintaining that relationship even if it's difficult logistically. Brielle felt like she was drowning. What do I do? We fight. We present evidence of the twins' stability here, their attachment to school and community. We argue that disrupting them for Todd's job isn't in their best interest. But Brielle, I have to be honest. This is a harder fight than last time. He's done everything right legally. After hanging up, Brielle sat in her car in the coffee shop parking lot and cried. Everything she'd built felt like it was crumbling. Warren appeared, somehow knowing she needed him. He'd probably tracked her location on his phone, something she'd given him permission to do for emergencies. What happened? He asked, sliding into the passenger seat. She told him everything. The Houston job, Todd's petition, the possibility of losing the twins for extended periods. I can't lose them, she sobbed. I can't. You won't. We'll fight this. Lisa says it's harder this time. Todd's proven himself legally. Then we prove you're the better parent. We show the judge what the twins would lose if they're forced to move or split time between states. How? Statements from their teachers, their childcare providers, evidence of their academic performance and social connections. We build a case so strong no judge could rule against you. And if that's not enough? Warren took her hand. Then we deal with that if it happens. But we don't give up before the fight even starts. Over the next month they prepared. Lisa gathered evidence, interviewed witnesses, built their case. Teachers wrote glowing reports about the twins' progress. The director at Bright Horizons provided detailed documentation of their social and emotional development. Ms. Rodriguez wrote about Brielle's dedication as a mother. Warren offered to testify to explain his role in the family and why the twins needed stability. The court date was set for early May, days before Todd's job in Houston was supposed to start. The timing felt deliberate, designed to pressure Brielle into agreeing to something to avoid court. She refused. They would fight. The night before the hearing, Brielle couldn't sleep. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, imagining worst-case scenarios. The twins crying as Todd drove them to Houston. Summer split between houses. Holidays negotiated and divided. At 3 a.m. Warren called. I couldn't sleep either, he admitted. Want company? Yes. He came over and they sat in her small living room drinking tea and not talking much. Just being present for each other. Whatever happens tomorrow, Warren said finally, we'll handle it together. You're not alone in this. Promise. Promise. Morning came too quickly. Brielle dressed carefully, putting on her most professional outfit. She kissed the sleeping twins, grateful they didn't have to be in court this time. At the courthouse, Lisa met them with final preparations. Remember, stay calm. Don't let Todd's attorney provoke you. We have a strong case. The hearing began with Todd's attorney, a new lawyer named Jennifer Monroe, presenting their petition. Todd had steady employment, had maintained consistent visitation, had proved himself a dedicated father. The Houston job was a career advancement that would allow him to better provide for his children. He was requesting joint custody with alternating school years or, at minimum, extended summer custody. Mr. Martinez has earned the right to be fully involved in his children's lives, Monroe argued. He's done everything the court asked and more. Denying him equal custody now sends the message that fathers can never redeem past mistakes. Then Lisa presented Brielle's case. The twins were thriving in their current environment. Their school performance was excellent, their social connection strong. Uprooting them or splitting them between households would damage their stability. Miss Thompson has been the consistent parent since birth, Lisa said. She sacrificed, worked, educated herself, all while maintaining a stable home. The twins know their father, but they don't have a deep bond with him. Forcing them to spend extended time in a new city with a parent they barely know isn't in their best interest. Warren testified, describing his relationship with the family, the twins' emotional well-being, their attachment to their current life. He spoke calmly and convincingly. Todd testified too, talking about his regrets, his changes, his desire to be a real father. He was earnest and seemingly sincere. The judge, a different one this time, Judge Robert Mitchell, listened carefully to everything. He asked questions, reviewed documentation, seemed genuinely thoughtful. Finally he spoke. This is a difficult case. Mr. Martinez has indeed proven himself over the past year. He's done everything asked of him. However, stability for children this age is paramount. Uprooting them now when they're thriving would be disruptive. Brielle held her breath. Therefore, I'm denying the petition for joint custody. Ms. Thompson will retain primary custody. However, I'm expanding Mr. Martinez's visitation to include 4 weeks in the summer and alternating holidays. He'll continue with every other weekend when he's local, or monthly weekend visits once he moves to Houston, with Ms. Thompson to transport the children halfway. It wasn't perfect, but it was better than the alternative. Brielle felt relief wash over her. Mr. Martinez, you've made commendable progress. Continue this path and we can revisit custody arrangements in a year. But for now, these children need consistency, and that remains with their mother. Outside the courthouse, Todd looked disappointed but not angry. 4 weeks in summer, he said to Brielle. That's something. It is. Just don't let them down. I won't. He paused. You're a good mother, Brielle. I've always known that. I just wish I'd been a better father from the start. It's not too late to be better now. He nodded and walked away. Warren hugged Brielle tightly. You won. We won, she corrected. I couldn't have done this without you. You're stronger than you think. Maybe. But I'm glad I don't have to be strong alone. That evening, Brielle told the twins about the new arrangement. 4 weeks with their dad in summer, some holidays. They seemed okay with it, not thrilled but accepting. Can Mr. Warren come visit us in Houston? Jaden asked. I don't think that's how it works, buddy. Oh, okay. He looked sad. But we'll call him every day, Brielle promised. And when you're back home, he'll still be here. Good, Amara said. I like our life the way it is. Me too, baby. Me too. Later, after the twins were asleep, Brielle sat on her small balcony, looking at the city lights. She thought about how far they'd come in 14 months. From desperate and alone to stable and supported. From hopeless to hopeful. Her phone buzzed. Warren. Thank you for today. For everything. She typed back, thank you for never giving up on us. For being exactly who we needed when we needed it most. His response came immediately, you gave my life meaning again. That's worth everything. Brielle smiled, tucked her phone away, and went inside to her small but happy home. Tomorrow she'd work another night shift. Next week the twins had a school science fair. The following month, Todd would move to Houston, starting his new job and his summer custody arrangement. Life would continue to be complicated, challenging, unpredictable. But they'd face it together, this makeshift family built on kindness and circumstance. And that, Brielle thought as she climbed into bed, was more than enough. December arrived with early snow and the kind of cold that makes breath visible. Brielle had been working as a nurse for almost a year now, settling into her role with growing confidence. The pediatric ward had become her second home, the children her extended family. She'd earned Nurse of the Month twice, recognition that filled her with quiet pride. The twins were thriving in 3rd grade, both reading at 5th grade level now. Amara had joined the school choir, her voice clear and sweet. Jaden had discovered a love for science, constantly asking questions about how things worked. Todd had moved to Houston in May as planned. The summer custody arrangement had gone smoothly, 4 weeks split into 2 visits. The twins returned from Texas each time unchanged, reporting that their dad had taken them to museums and parks, kept his promises, maintained routines. They still didn't have a deep bond with him, but they accepted him as part of their lives now. Warren remained central to their world. He'd attended every school event, every achievement, every moment that mattered. The twins called him Papa Warren now, a title he wore with barely concealed emotion. On Christmas Eve morning, Brielle woke to her alarm with a strange sense of symmetry. 1 year ago she'd been desperate, sitting in a diner with $42, trying to figure out how to feed her children. Now she had a career, savings, stability, and most importantly, a family built on love rather than obligation. She planned something special. Today they were going back to Myers' Diner, the place where everything had changed. She'd called ahead, made arrangements with Dorothy, who still worked there and remembered them fondly. "Why are we going to that diner?" Amara asked as Brielle dressed them in warm clothes. "Because it's special. It's where we met Papa Warren. I want to celebrate that." "Can we get the smiley face pancakes?" Amara asked immediately. "Absolutely. Whatever you want." Warren met them at the diner at noon. He looked good, healthier than he had a year ago. Less hollow around the eyes, more present in his body. Dorothy spotted them immediately, her face lighting up. "Well, look who's back. And don't you all look wonderful?" They slid into the same booth where they'd sat that first night. The menu hadn't changed, still the same plastic-covered pages with pictures of food. "It feels different," Jaden observed. "Everything feels different," Brielle agreed. They ordered properly this time. No counting dollars, no anxiety about the bill. Just a family enjoying a meal together. While they waited for food, Brielle pulled out a wrapped box and handed it to Warren. "What's this?" he asked, surprised. "Just open it." Inside was a framed photograph, taken at Amara's birthday party back in April. Warren sat on his lawn surrounded by children, laughing at something out of frame, looking genuinely happy. "Patricia would have loved this," Brielle said softly. "Seeing you smile like that again." Warren's eyes filled with tears. "I'd forgotten what joy felt like. You reminded me. You saved us, Warren. You gave me a chance when I had nothing. You saved yourself. I just provided some resources." "No," Brielle said firmly. "You did more than that. You showed up when I needed someone. You believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. You loved my children like they were your own. That's not just resources. That's family." The twins, sensing the emotional moment, climbed onto Warren's lap together, hugging him tightly. "We love you, Papa Warren," they said in unison. "I love you both too. So much." Their food arrived and they ate while sharing memories from the past year. Remember when Jaden fell in the mud at the park? Remember when Amara's loose tooth finally came out during dinner? Remember the Seattle trip, the science fair, the 100 small moments that had built this bond? After the meal, Brielle had one more surprise. She led them outside where a small dedication ceremony had been arranged. The city had approved her request, and now a bench sat on the sidewalk outside the diner, a bronze plaque attached. "In memory of Patricia Bradford, RN. She believed in the power of kindness." This bench honors her spirit and all caregivers who serve with compassion. Warren read it twice, 3 times, then sat on the bench and wept openly. Brielle sat beside him, holding his hand, letting him grieve and celebrate simultaneously. "She'd be so proud of you," he said finally. "Of the nurse you've become, of the mother you are." "I hope so. I think about her sometimes when I'm with patients, wondering what she would do. Her stethoscope has guided me well." The twins explored the bench, reading the plaque, understanding on some level the significance of this gesture. "Can we sit on Grandma Patricia's bench?" Amara asked. The title made Warren's breath catch. She would have loved being called Grandma. "Yes, of course you can sit here." They spent an hour on that bench watching the city move around them. Families hurried past with shopping bags, couples walked hand in hand, the world continued its busy Christmas Eve rush. "I was sitting right here a year ago," Brielle said quietly. "Right on this spot, watching people go by, wondering how I'd gotten to such a low point. I felt so alone." "You were never alone," Warren said. "Even before we met, you had strength inside you." "Maybe. But I needed someone to believe in it before I could." That evening they celebrated Christmas Eve at Warren's house, continuing a tradition they'd established. Melissa and her family had flown in 2 days earlier, wanting to spend the holiday all together. The house was full of noise and laughter, 2 sets of children running through rooms, adults cooking and talking. Melissa had warmed to Brielle completely over the past year. They developed their own friendship, separate from Warren, texting about motherhood and work and life. Grace and Thomas treated Amara and Jaden like cousins. The 4 children bonded despite distance. "Thank you for giving me my dad back," Melissa said to Brielle while they set the table together. "I didn't do anything. You did everything. He was disappearing after Mom died. Just going through motions. Now he's alive again. He gave us life too. Different kind, but just as important." After dinner, Warren gathered everyone in the living room. His enormous Christmas tree stood in the corner, decorated with 4 decades of ornaments plus new ones added this year. Handmade ones from both sets of children. "I want to say something," Warren began, his voice thick with emotion. "A year ago, I sat alone on Christmas Eve, missing Patricia so much I could barely breathe. I'd been invited to spend the holiday with Melissa, but I'd refused, not ready to be around people." He looked at Brielle and the twins. "Then I walked into a diner and saw a woman trying to be strong for her children, trying to make $42 stretch into a meal for 3. I saw myself in her loneliness, saw an opportunity to do something Patricia would have done." "Dad," Melissa said softly, tears in her eyes. "I thought I was helping them. Turns out they were helping me. This family," he gestured to include everyone in the room, "has given me purpose again. Brielle, you reminded me what it means to fight for dreams. Amara and Jaden, you reminded me what unconditional love looks like. Melissa, you reminded me that family is worth the effort of honest communication." He pulled out a box from behind his chair. "Patricia left me well provided for, but what good is wealth if it just sits unused? So I've made some decisions." He handed Brielle an envelope. Inside was paperwork establishing a trust fund for the twins' education, enough to cover undergraduate and graduate school for both children. "Warren, this is too much," Brielle protested. "It's not nearly enough. Those children are as much mine as anyone's. They deserve every opportunity." He handed Melissa another envelope. "Your mother's jewelry, which I should have given you years ago. And the deed to this house." Melissa gasped. "Dad, what?" "I'm moving to a condo downtown. Something smaller, easier to maintain. This house should be filled with family, with your children growing up here like you did. Visit more, make memories here." "Where will you live?" "Somewhere between here and Brielle's neighborhood. Close enough to both families. I'm not abandoning anyone, just repositioning myself to be more available." The room was silent, everyone processing. "You've all given me a second chance at life," Warren continued. "This is me choosing to embrace it fully. No more living in the past, no more just existing. I'm choosing joy, choosing family, choosing to honor Patricia by living the way she would have wanted me to." Brielle stood and hugged him tightly. "Patricia would be so proud." "I hope so. I really do." The rest of the evening passed in warm celebration. The children played, the adults talked and laughed. At midnight, they watched snow fall through the large windows, the city quieting into Christmas morning. Brielle stood slightly apart watching the scene. Her children happy and secure. Warren surrounded by love. Melissa and Derek relaxed and joyful. This makeshift, complicated, beautiful family they'd all built together. "Mama, come here," Amara called, waving her over. Brielle joined them by the tree and someone took a photo. Years later, that picture would sit on mantels in multiple homes. Warren with the twins on his lap, Brielle beside them, Melissa's family in the background, everyone smiling. "Are you happy?" Warren asked quietly. "So happy. Sometimes I can't believe this is real." "It's real. You made it real by accepting help when you needed it, by letting people in. And you made it real by offering help without expectation, by showing up consistently, by loving us." On the bus ride home early Christmas morning, the twins asleep on either side of her, Brielle thought about that night 1 year ago. How scared she'd been, how desperate. How a stranger's kindness had changed everything. She pulled out her phone and sent a text to Warren, who was probably still awake. "Thank you for seeing us that night. Thank you for choosing to help. Thank you for becoming family." His response came quickly. "Thank you for letting me. You saved me too, Brielle. We saved each other." She smiled and tucked her phone away. Outside, the city slept under fresh snow. Christmas lights twinkled on every building. And inside a small apartment, a family prepared to celebrate another Christmas, this one filled with hope instead of despair. The twins stirred as they reached their stop. Brielle gathered them close, shepherding them home through the cold. "Mama?" Jaden murmured sleepily. "Yes, baby?" This was the best Christmas ever. "Yes," Brielle agreed, unlocking their apartment door. "Yes, it was." She tucked them into bed, kissed their foreheads, and stood in her doorway watching them sleep. These two miracles. This life they'd built. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Todd would call to wish the twins Merry Christmas and it would be slightly awkward but okay. She'd work a shift at the hospital next week, caring for sick children. The twins would return to school in January, continue growing and learning. Life would continue being complicated and messy and difficult. But it would also continue being beautiful and full and worth fighting for. Because that's what love does. It shows up in diners on Christmas Eve. It offers help without strings. It builds families in unexpected ways. It transforms desperation into hope. And it always leads,